Okay, we are right on time. We're going to get started. We only have 30 minutes. I'm Brent Bellm, CEO of BigCommerce, and I'm joined by Jim Secord, the VP of Product at WineDirect, and we're going to try to make this one of the best big ideas sessions. First, because the topic is wine, and second, because what you are about to see are some of the most sophisticated adaptations of an e-commerce platform for a specific category that have ever been done, not just on BigCommerce, but arguably any e-commerce platform. We'll be highlighting, though, mostly things that are of useful knowledge to almost anybody. Okay, so very quickly, let's do the audience participation part of this. Raise your hand if you consider yourself to be a wine lover.
All right.
Yeah, Russ, you're not. Don't raise your hand. Okay. Now raise your hand if you have ever bought wine from the website of a winery before. Okay, a lot fewer. Final question for the audience. Does anybody know roughly how many wineries there are in the United States? Guesses?
10,000.
How many?
10,000.
Very close. 10,000 was a guess? All right, the answer is about 11,500. And out of those 11,500, almost 2,000 of them are running their e-commerce websites on WineDirect. Jim, tell us about WineDirect.
All right, so WineDirect is the largest direct-to-consumer e-commerce platform for wineries. All we do is serve wineries. Now, one of the interesting fun facts of that 11,500 wineries is that 80% of those wineries produce 5,000 cases or less, and 50% produce less than 1,000 cases. So there is such a broad spectrum from single proprietors running and growing a winery up to multinational enterprise accounts.
And what I like to think about what they're doing is they're trying to bring the most sophisticated and advanced capabilities in e-commerce, but so tailor them for ease of use that even small mom and pops in the wine industry can leverage them.
Yeah, so there's a few unique things about wineries. First off, they are inherently omnichannel. They have a tasting room that is really important to the mix and attracting new customers. They have a wine club, which is really the lifeblood for a lot of wineries, which is like a subscription-based service. And then, of course, their website. And at WineDirect, we do all of that, plus also manage a marketplace and help fulfillment as well.
So if you're in a different category in here, but you have to think about point-of-sale integration, you have to think about marketplace selling, you have to think about how you fulfill. These are all problems Jim will talk about solving in the wine industry. Okay, BigCommerce, we are a publicly traded software as a service e-commerce platform. We serve about 60,000 merchants around the world, including some of the world's largest companies, like most of the Procter & Gamble brands, really great brands in all categories, like Ted Baker in apparel, Solo Stove, a publicly traded company that grew up on BigCommerce, et cetera. And we think of ourselves as the most modern enterprise e-commerce platform. Why most modern? Because we're software as a service, and we are truly open. We're open in our APIs, we're best of breed, and we're not a conglomerate. Most of our big competitors are trying to also make you use their proprietary payments or their proprietary CRM or CMS. We're just an e-commerce company, and we're the best at being an e-commerce company and let our customers pick the best technology stack for the rest of their business. In the food and beverage category, we have really great brands like King Arthur Baking, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, lots of perishable food customers, and leading liquor brands like Johnnie Walker, and some of the biggest wine retailers in the world, #1 in Australia, big ones in the US, plus soon 1,800 wineries thanks to WineDirect. That's what we do in food and bev. Okay, here's what we're going to go through. We're going to talk about customizing a general e-commerce platform to the nth degree for a category to make it perform optimally for a category, the wine industry. And then we'll talk about some of the things all of you may care most about: leading edge innovations, customer experience, and how to optimize your omnichannel. So let's dive in.
All right, so when we approached BigCommerce in a partnership, one of the things that we were looking for was we wanted to re-platform quickly. We'd been in the market for 10 years. We had a legacy platform we wanted to modernize. We did not want to recreate an e-commerce platform from scratch. We wanted to focus exclusively on features and benefits for the winery, how to automate their workflow as much as possible. The other challenge, which I already stated, was we deal with sole proprietors with no digital marketing experience, all the way up to enterprise clients that have IT departments and marketing departments that want to customize all the way through. So what we did was we built an application on top of BigCommerce that really is bespoke for the wine industry. So we extended customers, orders, products all around wine, the wine consumer, and the whole e-commerce rails for selling wine. And we also layered in our omnichannel application. So we took our point of sale application, layered it into BigCommerce, as well as our wine club and subscription model, and built that in. And last but not least, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but in terms of the actual checkout experience, wine is tricky. There's compliance, there's taxes, so we did a lot of customization work around that to really just streamline it for the consumer experience. So, looking at this, like I said, we layered on top of BigCommerce. This isn't the BigCommerce interface, it's WineDirect. It's what wineries are familiar with. But underneath this is all of the BigCommerce e-commerce technology. Yeah.
From my perspective, the coolest thing they did here is they are the first partner of ours to ever rebuild and replace the entire BigCommerce control panel tailored to their industry, so that when you're a winery logging into WineDirect, you're accessing 100% of the BigCommerce functionality via our APIs, but exclusively through tailored interfaces from WineDirect, so that it's so easy to use if what you are is a winery.
Never would have been possible without most, 95, 100% of your functionality being exposed through an API. Mm-hmm. So the next thing about wineries is it's very relationship driven. So having a 360-degree view of that customer from the moment they walk into a tasting room, to capture them for a wine club, to look at their repeat purchases and retain them, really important. So we built and extended BigCommerce with really a wine-based CRM platform that allows us to do things like look at who referred them, what relationships do they share their club experience with, what of course are their wine preferences, are they social media influencers, and can they access special promotions in a tasting room or online. Wine clubs and subscriptions are probably the lifeblood of many wineries. So these are repeat customers that go back 3 to 4 times a year and purchase on a subscription-based wine clubs. So all of this recurring billing, transaction, all of that stuff built directly on top of BigCommerce to leverage all of their functionality to streamline this as much as possible. Last but not least, the point of sale. So interesting thing about point of sale is that 30% of the people that walk into a tasting room in a winery become an e-commerce or a club's customer. So for every $100 that's spent in a tasting room, $50 translates into online sales, which means that tasting experience in the winery better be good. So we built a custom application that not only has all of your standard point of sale stuff, but it really focuses on attracting and capturing that customer and upselling them into an omnichannel customer. Finally, reporting, really important in the wine industry. if you think about production and lead times, you want to know what varietals are popular, what you've got in terms of inventory as far as processing the wine club. So we were able to use BigCommerce, BigQuery, the data that's all stored in that, to really build out a whole customized reporting and dashboard system that is exclusive to the winery.
And some of the takeaways for anybody who's a brand or a retailer not in the wine industry, whatever your stores or point of sale are running on, you can integrate it into BigCommerce the exact same way that WineDirect does their proprietary one. You can integrate your CRM into us. If you're using an app for subscriptions, most of those are already integrated into BigCommerce, so you don't have to do any work. And if you want to tie the data together across these various sources, you can use the same out-of-the-box BigQuery database that every BigCommerce customer gets for free. You get out of the box a Google BigQuery database to which you can append and access data from any of these sources. The general thing, though, that most of our individual customers won't do, but WineDirect as a partner has done, is what we call commerce as a service. And commerce as a service is when a partner says, well, I specialize in this application, this technology, but I want to offer it up to my customers prepackaged with e-commerce. I want to resell or remarket an integrated offering between e-commerce and whatever it is I specialize in. That's what WineDirect has done for the wine industry, and to a really exciting degree.
Right.
All right, let's talk innovation now.
Yeah, so there are a few things that, again, really important to wineries. Brand and experience are everything. So the ability to have a multi-storefront where you can have a single database for customers, products, and orders, but have as many websites and storefronts out there is really important for wineries because they've got different brands that they want to manage. They want a unique consumer experience through that, but they want the simplicity of managing it through a single database. Same thing with promotions and discounts. And the promotions and discounting system in BigCommerce is fantastic. It was something we didn't have to recreate, but really important to wineries because if you've got a wine club member walking into either one of your tasting rooms or one of your other brands' tasting rooms, you want to be able to offer them up discounts, special offers, preferential service. All of that is really simplified through the BigCommerce promotion engine. Same thing with checkout and payment options. I mentioned that a lot of our wineries are small, but the majority of our business is done at the enterprise level. They do not want to be linked or forced into any payment solution. So they want flexibility around that. And likewise, one of the reasons that we chose BigCommerce is that, again, our enterprise customers are looking to build on a platform that's open, that they can not only rely on us to build, whether it's an API or integrations, but go out to over 1,200 plus integrations, whether it's Klaviyo or MailChimp or QuickBooks or an ERP system, and plug into that. And then shifting all the way to the other end of the spectrum, if you look at Page Builder and the CMS and the customization tools, a lot of our small clients are not sophisticated. So they want to be able to click a button and have an online store customized for a winery up and running within minutes.
So one of the things that WineDirect's taking advantage of is BigCommerce's multi-storefront functionality. And what multi-store, it's true enterprise functionality because it lets an individual business run numerous different storefronts, all from a single account and control panel. You can leverage common integrations, common tools, or mix and match them. And so it makes it very economically and operationally easy to add additional brands, additional geographies, and/or additional segments. For example, if you want to sell both B2C and B2B. This is really relevant in the wine industry, even for some small mom and pop wineries, because...
Well, so if you take a look at the biggest growing segments in the wine industry are women and younger buyers. So you've got a brand like Duckhorn, who is one of our customers, that is well-established, 30-year-old brand, very traditional. When they want to spin up new brands or experiment with reaching new audiences, they can set up brand new storefronts with a unique look and feel that's targeting a specific demographic that they want to go after without having to, jeopardize their existing brands and that look and feel.
Yeah, that type of multi-storefront functionality, historically, companies had to buy a Magento or a Salesforce or an Oracle or an SAP to get. You can't get it with a Shopify or most other SMB-specific platforms, but you can get it with BigCommerce, and you can even get it at a price point that a mom and pop affords.
So wine is hard to sell online. If you think about it, it's heavy, it's hard to ship, but even more troublesome than that is all of these compliance and regulatory restrictions that date back to the area of prohibition, really. So let's talk about compliance. If you're buying a bottle of wine in California and you want it shipped to Colorado, you've got restrictions around that. You want it shipped to Texas, you've had to have visited that winery sometime over the past 18 months. So for a small winery or even large ones to keep track of all of that is challenging. WineDirect, we take all of that worry and complexity and build it into the platform. So what we did was we really customized the whole checkout experience in BigCommerce. So we do compliance checks. We do taxation. So we partner with Avalara and their beverage and alcohol group to say to wineries, don't worry about collecting, remitting sales tax anymore. You can do that all through Avalara, and it's built right into the overall checkout optimization within BigCommerce. Last but not least is just digital wallets and multiple payment methods. Super important. When someone walks into a winery, they want to be treated like an old friend, which means that if we've got their card on file, we don't want to have to re-ask for that again. That needs to be presented in the point of sale system and just streamline that whole transaction as much as possible.
This is relevant to everybody who sells in North America. When WorldPay estimates how will Americans make their payments on e-commerce websites today versus 2025, by 2025, normal credit or debit card payments will be less than half of all payments. Even more than normal card payments will be what I would call modern alternative payments. Wallets like PayPal, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo. Bank-based payment methods, including ACH and direct debit, and buy now, pay later options like Affirm and Afterpay. If you're a merchant who does not have these, it is not the case that everybody has a credit card and they'll just use a credit card if you don't have these. I know this really well. I was at PayPal for 8 years as head of product, head of Europe. When we would go survey PayPal customers immediately after a purchase from a prominent merchant website, roughly a third of them said, if PayPal Wallet had not been available on that trusted brand, they said I would not have made the purchase right then using a credit card. And then they'd tell us why. I didn't have a credit card on me. I didn't want to share my credit card number. My credit card, I tried it. It got declined. I trust PayPal. I wanted to use my balance. I wanted to use a bank account. I wanted to use Ideal. There were like 10 different reasons. But the point is, all these things that you're not taking today, the buy now, pay laters, the wallets, the example on a phone. Somebody's trying to make a purchase on a phone. If you've got Apple Pay or Google Pay, it's really easy. If your website doesn't have that, what are the odds somebody's going to go through the whole checkout form fill on a mobile phone? Way lower, right? So you need to be using these various methods, or I guarantee you are giving up sales. So one thing that we bring to WineDirect and all of our customers is not only are we open, we don't try to make you use a proprietary payment solution, and the opposite. We have the world's best integrations and partnerships with market leaders like Stripe and PayPal and Adyen and WorldPay, all those on the list, and you can choose between them with leading edge integrations. We also have all the leading buy now, pay laters, and you can add one or more. We have all the leading wallets, optimally integrated in the way you would want, with configurability. And having that out of the box and continuous innovation between BigCommerce and our payments partners lets you always make sure you're optimizing for checkout conversion and not losing any customer based on the most convenient way for them to pay. Okay, let's do customer experience.
All right, so as we've talked about, the wine industry is all about creating an experience, which means that not only the website and obviously the physical presence of a tasting room, but also making it personalized for that consumer that's going in. So again, understanding their payment, shipping, but also their wine preferences, where they prefer to shop, whether they're a club member. All of that needs to be part of that overall experience. And again, one of the tentpole features of BigCommerce is the ability for both a headless storefront as well as templates. And so about 30% of our 1,800 wineries work with agency partners. Agency partners prefer to work in WordPress or some type of CMS which gives them, flexible design options. So using BigCommerce's WordPress plugin, we can accommodate all of those agency partners by allowing that WordPress to just plug directly in to the WineDirect/BigCommerce backend. That's a huge win right there. There's no custom software. They're not having to pay for a consultant or worrying about that integration. Other end of the spectrum, though, is, again, the majority of the wineries that we deal with are mom and pop operations that do not have a lot of skill in terms of digital marketing. They can certainly produce wine. What we've done is we've built in wine-specific templates into BigCommerce that appeal to different demographics. We talked about younger buyers, women, traditional buyers, layered in things like wine clubs, digital experiences, tasting events. All those are available when someone signs up for WineDirect. They just choose a template or they connect their WordPress and go.
BigCommerce really has religion around this openness and flexibility to either use our out-of-the-box simple page builder and themes or use whatever front end you most want, whether it's WordPress at the low end or at the high end, Contentful, Content Stack, Bloomreach, etc. That's why we've been doing sort of headless and composable for 7 years now, since long before it was a well-known term. We've been early and prominent members of the Mock Alliance, which really espouses this composable approach. And we have industry-leading headless integrations with all of those various front ends. And here's an example. Like, we have great, well-known brand names live using a composable approach with all of these various frameworks. Whether, at the bottom it's Ted Baker on Bloomreach, K2 Skis on Solo Stoves, I know on Content Stack, I think K2's on Contentful, thousands of WordPress customers on up the list. And with multi-storefront, you can even mix and match in the same account. You can have some storefronts on one, some on another. That's unique to BigCommerce. All right, we're going to finish with omnichannel. All right, this is a little bit hard to read, and I apologize, but what you are looking at on the left is globally how the 2,500 plus food and beverage merchants on BigCommerce, not counting WineDirects, source their sales. So this is GMV globally, based on the last click source for people who buy. And what you see on this page is less than half of all sales comes direct to website. The other half, the more than half, is clicking onto the website from a third-party source, whether that is SEO, which is 23%, and by the way, our out-of-the-box SEO is truly optimized for Google. It's another attraction point for WineDirect. Wineries don't have to do anything to perform really well for SEO on Google. Or you get the red shades are the paid marketing sources like SEM, affiliates, and digital display ads. Performing really well, what we call an omnichannel, digital omnichannel, is essential to growing a brand. And in general, our food and bev customers do really well here. In fact, they outperform the average merchant a lot on unpaid social. Unpaid social are your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok referrals that you didn't have to pay to advertise to. It's your followers, right? They kill it there. They do really well. They also do extremely well with email offers. Not surprisingly, these are loyal customers. And on the upper right, you're going to see which sources have the highest conversion rate. So not surprisingly, email has the highest conversion rate. These are existing customers who've given you the right to email them with offers, followed by unpaid social. Your followers on TikTok and on Instagram convert extremely well. And then third highest converting is owned content. This is the power of content marketing done well, which food and bev brands have particular need to do well. So in the wine industry, what are the top sources?
Well, the top source is the tasting room, right? Like I mentioned. So it's people walking in through the front door. And then it's marketing aggressively back to those people. Wine industry is great. 89% of sales last year were to repeat customers, which has been growing every year. So that just really underscores the importance of being able to capture that customer. And with an average order value of $154, super important. The challenge, though, is tasting room visits are down this year for one of the, obviously, pandemic aside, one of the first years. So our wine merchants need other ways to get people in through the front door, so to speak.
All right, so the key to performing on Google, on Facebook, on TikTok, on, if relevant to you, Amazon or other marketplace channels, is feeding your product catalog into those advertising or selling channels in exactly the format that will get those products to perform. Most brands and retailers don't do that widely, and they don't do that optimally because it takes work. It takes work to integrate each channel, and it takes a lot of work to optimize it. Feedonomics is the acquisition we made a year and a half ago that is the world's leading product feed solution, both in terms of volume and in terms of its ability to optimize for performance and return on ad spend. About a third of the top 1,000 US retailers use it, but now we're bringing it to the masses, even mom and pop retailers. And let me show you this in action. So the example on the right is a small wine, or a wine retailer, they're not small, called Wine Library. And if all they did was pump into Facebook the titles of their products, you would get in the bottom right this bottle. Producer's Frank Family, it's a Pinot from 2021. That will not perform in Facebook because it doesn't include all the information Facebook needs to know. They need to know who the seller is. The title doesn't tell them. They need to know that it's red wine. They need to know it's from Napa, California, and they need to know it's a 750 milliliter bottle. Feedonomics doesn't just integrate, it then adds all this information so it performs optimally in Facebook. A Google example. The winery on the right, on the left-hand side is The Prisoner, and you see the title straight from The Prisoner's website. On the right is then how that gets optimized to perform on Google. You tell Google, that the retailer is also the prisoner, the brand is the prisoner, and again, you add the varietal, you add where it's from, you add it's 750, you add whether it's red or white. That's what it takes to perform on Google. If you miss some or all of that data, your SEO stinks, your free listings won't perform, you will spend far more on your SEM to get the same results. Finally, are marketplaces. And in a lot of categories, the top marketplace to consider might be Amazon marketplaces, it might be eBay. In the wine industry, it's Vivino. Vivino is the #1 app in the world for looking up a wine, rating it, and then maybe buying it. One of our goals is to bring all these wineries into Vivino, which they could never afford to do at small scale. But it so happens that Vivino goes to Feedonomics and says, we can't be integrating with these individual suppliers. You do that for us. And so now we want to bring that integration. It's already integrated into Vivino. And very big wine retailers, we want to even take it down to the mom and pop wineries by the hundreds and thousands. And so that's an exciting thing still to come. Everything I've just talked about in terms of omnichannel, search engines, social networks, affiliates, marketplaces is fundamentally relevant to everybody who has an e-commerce website. And so what I've talked about with Feedonomics and what WineDirect is doing, I think is something everybody should explore. And so we're a minute over time. Just to wrap up, I want to thank Jim and WineDirect for being great partners of ours and doing what I think is the most interesting and complex adaptation of BigCommerce in our history for a specific category. If you are interested in learning more, you can stop by the BigCommerce booth, or also of great relevance, earlier this week, both we and Amazon announced the launch of Buy with Prime. And Buy with Prime is what gives a brand or retailer the ability to bring Prime benefits, like free shipping and 2-day shipping, to your customers on your branded website if you're also using Amazon Pay and multi-channel fulfillment from Amazon. So you can stop by our booth for the next hour where we've got Amazon employees there and some champagne and strawberries, or stop by the Buy with Prime booth, 6138, at any point during the conference to learn more. That's what I've got. Jim, any parting words?
Thank you so much. Appreciate being a partner with BigCommerce.
Thanks all for joining. We appreciate it.